Okay. Hope you can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yuraj, just mute and you answer me on the text box, right? And the chat box so that noise will not be there. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, my dear. Thank you so much. Okay. So we are going for a simple sample of academic reading test. Okay, guys. Okay, friends. Good evening and welcome for the IELTS session. So, as I had told you, we will have revision classes today. So, I am taking you through a sample reading test now so that you will get revised what all we did in the reading practice, how to read it, and how to answer the questions so that it will give you a brief reminder to take on the test on Sunday. Okay. So this Sunday we will be having two tests, that is writing and speaking. Sunday we will have writing and speaking, or we can have writing and listening on Sunday, and Monday we can have reading and speaking. Okay. I'll let you know the exact thing by the end of the day today. I'll post it in the Google Classroom. What would be the test tomorrow? However, reading, writing would be there for tomorrow. So get practice for a writing test. How to write the task one, that is 150 words essay, and task two, that is 250 words test, essay test. So after going through this one of the reading practice revision, we will get back to writing practice revision also, how to write it and all those things. I will revise it again for all of you so that you will have a glimpse of it, what to do it on Sunday, that is tomorrow, how to write both the tests in the essay part of it. That is the writing part of it. Is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now, so this is the practice test that we'll be going to have. Okay. The reading test will be of this pattern, right? First, there will be academic reading. It will be for 1 hour. That is for 60 minutes. So read the instructions carefully in each and every test, and read the instructions carefully for each and every part of the question paper, right? As I told you, especially in the listening skills, there will be instructions given to each part. That is part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. In the same way, reading also and writing also. So first, cultivate the habit of reading the instructions. So once you understand the instructions, then read the questions carefully and attentively and try to understand the question, what is being asked in the question. Then try to answer the questions, right? Just don't jump straight away into questions, reading the questions or answering the questions. First, read the instructions very much carefully and understand the instructions. Then, read the questions in the question paper and understand the question, what they are asking for. And then you start giving the answers. Okay? Now, as far as the reading test is concerned, as I already told you, the moment you are registered for the test, you'll be given with a membership number, exam membership number, or that is called as candidate number. as all of you know that we call it as a hall ticket number, right? In the same way, they will give you a candidate number. So each question paper will be sent to the test center according to the choice of the test centers made by the candidates and according to the batches that they have selected. So each question paper would come on the name of each individual, right? So every question paper will be packed in a cover in the individual's name. That means each candidate's name, and it would be sealed. So the moment you enter the test center or the test venue, the invigilator will also give you the instructions. Listen to those instructions very carefully. And then don't open the question paper cover until and unless the invigilator asks you to open the question paper. Right? Then, once you are asked to open the question paper and you open the question paper, what you do is on the top of the question paper, a space would be given to you to write your name and your number. That number is the candidate number. So the moment you open the question paper, on the right top corner, write your name in the space given and the candidate number in the question paper and also in the answer paper as well. Then, as I told you, the same instructions are given here. Read the questions for each part of the paper carefully. Right? So there will be part 1, part 2, part 3. So you have to, each part will have a different set of instructions. Right? Like choose the correct answer. Don't write more than 2 words. True or false. Given or not given. This type of various types of questions should be there. So you have to read the instructions. What is that they are asking for? Okay? And then answer all the questions. You cannot leave any questions. There will be around 40 questions. You will have to answer all the 40 questions. So you cannot write, I know only 35 questions, answers. I will write 35 answers and 5 I will leave it and come. Like most of us do in our normal examinations that we have all doing all these days. But in IELTS, you cannot do like that. You have to answer all the 40 questions, irrespective of whether you know the answer or you don't know the answer. Then, write your answers on the answer sheet. Okay? Just write your answers on the answer sheet and use a pencil. That's why in the beginning only I have told you many a times, for all the 4 tests, always carry your pencil, sharpener and eraser. Right? Then you have to finish answering the questions within the time that they have given to you. Right? So if there are 20 minutes for part 1, you have to read the question paper, understand what the passage is, and answer the questions within that 20 minutes only. And then you can go for the next part of it, and then you will be given next 20 minutes. You have to right, in that 20 minutes, then we'll go to part 3. That will be given for the next 20 minutes. So that's how it will be 1 hour. Then at the end of the test, once you are done with the test, you have to hand over both the question paper and the answer sheet to the invigilator. Normally, what we do in the normal exams, what we write, we just give the answer sheets to the invigilator, bring the question paper back with us. But in IELTS, you cannot bring the question papers back. You have to give it back to the invigilator. And your question papers, along with your answer sheets, will be pinned and put into the cover and sealed and sent for the correction. Is that clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, great. Now, in the question papers, there will be 40 questions and each question carries 1 mark. That means the examination will be for 40 marks. So in 40 marks, if you have to score band 8, then you will have to write, or your out of 40 questions, minimum 32 questions should be absolutely correct. That means the answers for 32 questions should be perfectly correct. If you are going for band 9, 36. Right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you're reading passage 1. For passage 1, you can spend 20 minutes on the questions 1 to 13. So within that 20 minutes, you have to read the passage and answer the questions. But you can also use the pencil, mark the answers if you find something is here, and then you can write the answer. But before giving the answer paper, erase the markings that you have done on the question paper. Okay? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, can you read the passage and understand the questions? The passage says extraction and purification of drinking water. Can you read? Any one of you can read the passage?
No.
No. Then, if you cannot read, how will you write the answers? Okay. Some consumers chose to purchase bottled drinking water rather than relying on city tap water supplies. Bottled water has typically been extracted from underground sources. If water exists underground but has no natural exit points, bottling companies may construct a water table well by drilling down to extract water from an unconfined aquifer. This is done when the Earth's natural water level, known as a water table, is much lower than the Earth's surface. In some cases, as with a valley or gully on a mountain, the level of the water table may be higher than the Earth's surface, and a natural spring can emerge. Bottling companies are permitted to extract this water from a hole drilled into the underground spring. But the composition of the water must be identical to that of the naturally surfacing variety nearby. Artesian water is drawn from a confined aquifer, a deep underground cavity of porous rock that holds water and bears pressure from a confining layer above it. This water can be assessed if companies drill a vertical channel down into the confined aquifer. Due to the pressurized nature of this aquifer, water will often rise up from within it and form a flowing artesian well, which appears as an explosive fountain at the Earth's surface. However, this only occurs when the surface is lower than the natural water table. If the surface is not lower than the natural water table, it is still possible to draw artesian water by using an extraction pump. Some bottled water is advertised as purified, which means it has been subjected to a variety of different cleansing processes. A common filtering procedure known as reverse osmosis involves the water being pressed through microscopic membranes that prevent larger contaminants from passing through. The microscopic size of these holes is such that they can even obstruct germs, but they are most effective against undesirable materials such as salt, nitrates, and limescale. One disadvantage of reverse osmosis is that a lot of unusable water is generated as a byproduct of the procedure. This must be thrown away. For treating pathogens, an impressive newer option is ultraviolet, that is UV light. Powerful ultraviolet light has natural antibacterial qualities. So, this process simply requires water to be subjected to a sufficient strength of UV light as it passes through a treatment chamber. The light neutralizes many harmful germs by removing their DNA, thereby impeding their ability to replicate. A particularly impressive quality of UV light is its ability to neutralize highly resistant viral agents such as hepatitis. The overall effects of UV light treatment are variable, however, which leaves many municipal water treatment processes relying on chlorination. Its powerful and comprehensive antimicrobial effect notwithstanding, Chlorination is also extremely inexpensive and remains the only antimicrobial treatment capable of ensuring water remains contaminant free all the way through the pipes and to the taps of domestic homes. Many members of the public remain suspicious of water that has been treated with such a harsh chemical. Its ease of use and affordability has meant that chlorine often plays an important role in making tainted water supplies safe for consumption immediately after natural disasters have occurred. Have you understood the passage now? Okay, now can you answer the questions? Okay. Now,
Yes, sir.
some water also undergoes distillation. This involves water being boiled until it converts to steam, which then passes through a cooling tube and becomes water again. Toxic compounds and impurities such as heavy metal residue are left behind in the process. So the steamed water is typically cleaner than the pre-distilled version. Unfortunately, distillation equipment also removes up to 14 types of beneficial minerals that naturally occur in water. Consequently, those who rely on distilled water may need to make mineral supplements. In developed countries, all forms of drinking water are typically subject to stringent quality control processes. So, there is little evidence to suggest importing bottled water at significant expense will be safer or healthier than regular tap water from a municipal drinking supply. Both tap water and bottled water are tested for pathogens and contaminants, and aside from isolated cases related to issues such as faulty plumbing or old pipes, tap water is harmless. Nevertheless, many purchasers of bottled water will justify their choice on the quite reasonable basis that tap water has a distinctly unpleasant aftertaste related to the chlorination process it has undergone. Okay, guys, did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, shall we go for the questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, question 1 to 5. Label the diagram below. Choose no more than 3 words from the passage for each answer. Write your answer in boxes 1 to 5 on your answer sheet. That's why I said each set of question carries different instructions. Now you see the instructions are given here only for questions from 1 to 5. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at the diagram. This is the water table. This is the unconfined aquifer. Then the third one is the water layer. Fourth, when the water is drilled and when it comes out as a fountain. And fifth, the unconfined aquifer. When they drill it inside, water will come out in this way. Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, question 1. Dash provides access to tapped water. Second question, dash, due to the lower land level. Flowing artisan will looks like. Dash is necessary to access this water source. You should write not more than 3 words. You want me to take you back to passage? Here is the passage.
Sir, first question.
Yeah, tell me, first question answer. You want to see the question? Did you get the answer? Hello? Not getting. So, I told you what is this in the beginning itself, looking at the picture, my dear children. Right? This is, they are asking number 1. Right? In the diagram, they have put it number 1. So, the answer is, this is the water table. So, this is the well. They have drilled the well inside it. Right? So, this is, answer is here only. If people are getting confused, water table well. Right? Then, what is this? This is the second picture. How you are looking at it? This is the spring, isn't it? This is the natural spring that we can see. Normally, if you have ever gone to any hill stations. Then the third one, right? So, this is the aquifer. Number 3 is this, the entire thing. So, the entire thing is what? It is simply an confined aquifer. This is under the ground level. Then number 4, in the paragraph we read, when the bottling companies drill the well into it, drill a horizontal pipe into it, the water here in the confined aquifer oozes out or comes out as fountains. And number 5, see, this is the water table and the confined aquifer. This is a confined aquifer. And what is it? This is the aquifer tube. Hello? Are you getting it or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Now, let us go to question number 6 to 10. 6 to 11, sorry. Let us go to question number 6 to 11. Classify the following statements as referring to reverse osmosis, UV light treatment, chlorination, and distillation. Here they are asking, see the instruction below here, don't forget. Write the correct letter A, B, C, or D in boxes 6. So the question 6 to 11, you have to answer only these letters, that is A, B, C, or D, in the answer box that has been given to you in the answer paper. Okay. So notice you may use any letter more than once. That means this can be the answer for the questions more than one question. Right? Because there are how many questions? 6 questions are there, but only 4. So for the next 2 questions or any 2 questions, the answer will be repeated. You have to understand in that way. Okay. So as we have read through the passage, in that, can you come out this line? Can you find this line? You have to check for that. It continues to protect water as it is being transported. So, in which paragraph could we find this? Or for water treatment of purifying the water, we came across this line.
Distillation,
No, it is
chlorination.
chlorination, right?
Okay.
So to confirm you see there are only 4 ways of treating the water to make it purified. So it has
Okay.
been given in 4 different paragraphs. So you have to keep in mind. That's why I told ki whenever we read the paragraph, just underline the important things, right? Ki what is bottling, what is aquifying purified water, what is chlorination, what is distillation, everything is there in the each paragraph.
Okay.
So when we scroll down and see that particular line, the chlorination is in this paragraph.
Yes.
You see, the overall effects of ultraviolet treatment are variable. However,
Yes.
which leaves many municipal water treatment process relying on chlorination. Its powerful and comprehensive antimicrobial effect notwithstanding, chlorination is also extremely inexpensive and remains the only antimicrobial treatment capable of ensuring water remains contaminant free all the way through the pipes and to the taps of domestic homes. So, how will the chlorine water flow? It flows through the pipes and to the taps. So, that is what the line has been given in the question, if you can just remember it, right? See?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It continues to protect water as it is being transported. Correct?
Yes.
So that is why I keep on saying when you understand when the water is supplied from the municipal reservoir through the big pipes to the small taps of the house, what is that process called as transportation of water? Correct? So that way you have to understand the question. That's why all the time we say first read the question, understand the question, and then read the passage.
ठीक है.
Right? Then it is particularly useful during emergencies, which is
UV light treatment, sir.
right.
Is it
No,
UV?
UV light treatment, that is ultraviolet treatment. Again, you see, I'll take you to the same passage. You will find the answer there. Because chlorination is a very economic and easy to make for the governments, for the municipals to treat the water or purify the water. But most of the people, they doesn't use the municipal water, right? They go for purified water. They purchase bottled water. But at times where that type of water is not available, suppose you are traveling in a hill station where shops are not there, where you cannot find adequate shops who sell this bottled water. So there is an emergency. Which water will you use? The same water that comes in the tap. So that is again the chlorination. That is, answer should be C. Keep these answers in mind. Keep these answers in mind. Afterwards, I will take you to the answer sheet also. You can check the answers if it is correct or wrong. That's why reading through the passage is very important. Don't read between the lines. Then the seventh one, it uses a physical barrier to separate unwanted matter from water. Right? This is mostly reverse osmosis. Let me take you back to the paragraph. I just read it out. If I can remember, I hope you are all students, my dears. You should all remember it very easily, right? Okay. Can we go back? Go back. Bottled water is advertised. Okay, yeah, right. I'm in the right. A common filtering procedure known as the reverse osmosis involves the water being processed through microscopic membranes that prevent larger contaminants from passing through. Right? So the microscopic size of these holes is such that they can obstruct germs, but they are most effective against undesirable materials such as salt, nitrates. One disadvantage of reverse osmosis is that lot of unusable water is generated by product of procedure. This must be thrown away. Then the question number 8. Question number 9. It prevents bacteria from reproducing. Right?
UV light treatment.
Pardon me?
UV light treatment, sir.
Yeah, correct. UV light treatment, ultraviolet light treatment. Then question number 10. It removes all mineral particles.
Reverse osmosis.
No, it is there in the last paragraph. That is the distillation. Because you see, when we read distillation, all of us know we have studied it in the elementary school level itself. Right? Distillation is the process where the water is boiled and then it is passes through a cold tube and then it is received at the other end. That is the distilled water. When the water is boiled, okay, it removes all the mineral particles also that is which are useful for the body. It removes that also. It is distillation, D. Then it produces a lot of wastewater. That is reverse osmosis. Okay. Then question number. All of you are noting down the answers, whatever I am saying.
Yes, sir.
So that after going through these questions, I will take you to the answer sheet and you can check the answers. Whatever the answer that I am giving you now is correct or wrong. Even it is not, you cannot say that I am only giving the correct answers. You can also check your answers, and at the same time, I am giving you my answers now. You can make two columns, your answer and my answer. Then we will check whose answer is, who is giving the correct answers, right? Then choose two letters, A to E. Okay? Write the correct letters in boxes 12 and 13 on your answer sheet. Which two of these following claims about water are made by the writer? Okay? So, each question, that is question 12 and question 13, have two lines clubbed with for the answer. So, there are A, B, C, D, E, 5 lines are given, but you have to choose only 2 for each question. For example, 12 has A and E, so you have to choose A and E. And question number 13 has B and C, you have to choose B and C both. Getting? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is the answers that they are given is A, bottled water is overpriced, means it is costly. Tap water may not have a nice flavor. That means we have read it in one of the lines there. It has that chlorine smell. It gives the flavor of the chlorine that we have all experienced. Haven't we?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So most people should drink bottled water. Tap water is usually safe to drink. Public water supplies need better maintenance. So these are the 5 answers. Now let us go and see what are those 2 questions. I think the questions are missing here. 9, 10, 11 questions, 12 and 3. Okay. So there they wouldn't have asked you for the questions. Here what you have to understand is in the answer box, in the answer sheet, you have to write the correct 2 letters in each box. Okay? So which are those 2? We can find out from here. So A and D, they correlate if you read it, no? Bottled water is overpriced. That means they are costly. So tap water is usually safe to drink. That is one set of answer. Then for the next, you can see tap water may not have a nice flavor. So public water supplies need better maintenance. So these 2 makes a pair. Correct? A and D, B and E makes the better pair. You can check for it. You could just mention it now. When I take you through the answer sheet, we will check. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us go to question, that is passage 2. Now I will take you through the questions. 14 to 19. Reading passage 1 has 6 paragraphs, A to F. Which paragraph contains the following information? So, in that second passage, there are 6 paragraphs, A, B, C, D, E, F. Now you have to identify in which paragraph these lines are mentioned or you come across these lines. So write the correct letter A to F in boxes 14 to 19. That means which paragraph this line is. If it is in the paragraph A, you write A. If it is B, you should write B. If it is F, you write F in that manner. Is that clear? Now, read the questions and understand. A description of how international style buildings look on the inside. This means you have to think, okay, this is about the international buildings, how they will be built and how they look from inside. When we get inside to that building, how it may look. That picture you have to keep in mind. Then, a reference to institutions that didn't like to use international style buildings. A reason why architects didn't like the international style. A building which combined art, deco, and international features. Types of materials commonly used in international style buildings. An architectural feature previously associated with prominent organizations. That means this para is going to tell us about something about the civil engineering pattern in which international Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you got the things how to do it. Shall we go to passage?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me just, the power has gone. Let me start my mobile hotspot. 1 second, please. Give me a second. Yeah. Let me connect to mobile hotspot. There's a power cut here at my place. Since morning, it is happening very frequently.
So, is there power cut at your place?
Yeah, there's a power cut at my place.
Okay,
That's
okay. But
why,
yeah, we can see you, we can hear you too.
yeah.
That's not an issue.
No, but that's why I'm just connecting through the, what do we call it as, my
Phone,
mobile, yeah,
hotspot.
hotspot.
Okay, no worries, no worries.
Just a
Yeah,
minute or
Yuvraj is
two.
there, sir.
Yeah.
Pooja has left off, but still.
Yeah, she is traveling, in fact.
Okay, yes, she's going back to her home, I guess. Chalo, so continue, sir.
Hello? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, fine. Please do excuse me. I'm off the video because,
Sure, sure, no worries.
okay,
I can
right.
still hear you.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So read the passage. In the early decades of the 20th century, many Western cities experienced a
Excuse me,
steep,
sir.
yeah,
The passage is not visible.
okay, one second. I'll just share it. I'm sorry for that because there was a disconnection due to power cut, right? I hope now it is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now just go through the passage. I am reading it for your benefit now. Understand the lines. In the early decades of the 20th century, many Western cities experienced a steep rise in demand for commercial and civic premises due to population growth and expansion of the white collar professionals. At the same time, architects were growing disconnected with the ornamental spirals and decorative features in the prevailing design ethos of Art Deco or Art Moderne. Once considered the height of sophistication, these styles were quickly becoming seen as pretentious and old fashioned. In this confluence of movements, a new style of architecture emerged. It was simple, practical, and strong. A new look for the modern city and the modern man. It was named the International Style. Although the International Style first emerged in Western Europe in the 1920s, it found its fullest expression in American architecture and was given its name in a 1932 book of the same title. The first hints of it in America can be seen on the Empire State Building in New York City, which was completed in 1931. The top of the building, which its tapered crown, is decidedly Art Deco. Yet, the uniform shaft of the lower two thirds represents a pronounced step in a new direction. Later, efforts such as the United Nations Secretarial Building, that is in 1952, and the Seagram Building, 1954, came to exemplify the true international style. The architects of the international style broke with the past by rejecting virtually all non essential ornamentation. It created blackish, flat roofed skyscrapers using steel, stone, and glass. A typical building facade in this style has an instantly recognizable ribbon design characterized by strips of floor to ceiling windows separated by strips of metal paneling. Interiors showcased open spaces and fluid movements between separate areas of the building. Fans of the international style of modern buildings celebrated their sleek and economical contribution to modern cityscapes. While pre-modern architecture was typically designed to display the wealth and prestige of its landlords or occupants, the international style in some ways exhibited a more egali- egalitarian tendency. As every building and every floor looked much the same, there was little attempt to use these designs to make a statement. This focus on the function and practically reflected a desire in mid-century Western cities to get on with the business and give everyone a chance rather than lauding the dominant and influential instructions of the day through features such as Romanesque columns. Is it getting clearer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, great. Detractors, however, condemned these buildings for showing little in the way of human spirit or creativity. For them, the international style represented not an ethos of equality and progress, but an obsession with profit and the bottom line. The removed spiritual and creative elements from public life and public buildings. Under the dominance of the international style, cities became places to work and do business, but not to express one's desires or show individuality. It is perhaps telling that while banks and government departments favored the international style, arts organizations rarely opted for its austerity. Then the last paragraph. By the mid 1970s, the international style was ubiquitous across key urban centers, dominating skylines to such an extent that many travelers complained they could get off a plane and not know where they were. By their nature, buildings in this style demanded very little of architects in the way of imagination, and a younger generation of designers was yearning to express their ideas and experiment in novel and unexpected ways. The outcome was a shift toward postmodern postmodernism, which celebrated much of what the international style had dismissed: decoration, style without function, and an overall sense of levelly. But, sorry, by the turn of the 1980s, the international style was considered outdated and was falling rapidly out of favor. Right? Now, let us get to the question back again. Okay. A description of how international style buildings look on the inside. Which paragraph can we find this? A description about the international building is given in most probably the third paragraph, I believe. Let me get back there. I'll let you know. You see, the architects of the international style broke with the past by rejecting virtually all non-essential ornamentation. This is the description that they created blockish, flat roofed skyscrapers using steel, stone, and glass. This is the description of the international building, how the international buildings are built. Correct? So the answer should be C for the question number 14. Then 15, a reference to institutions that didn't like to use international style buildings. So where did we see that international buildings are not interested in? Okay. So when you come down, fans of the international, again, it is a different thing. You see, detractors, however, condemned these buildings for showing. Okay. Detractors. This shows the dislike towards the international building here. Right? However, condemned these buildings for showing little in the way of human spirit or creativity. Here you can get that perception. Can we get that?
Yes, sir.
Right? Then let us come to next question. "16-year rise. Why architects didn't like the international style." So that is there in the last paragraph. By the mid 1970s, the international style was ubiquitous across key urban centers, dominating skylines to such an extent that many travelers complained. Okay. A building which combined Art Deco and international features. Where can we find this? In B? In A, design ethos of Deco or art moderate. Right? Decorative features in prevailing design ethos of Art Deco or art moderate. It can be found in paragraph A. Types of materials commonly used in international style of buildings. That is again in paragraph building with projecting versatility, the created blockage, flat-rooted skyscrapers, steel, stone, glass. So again it is paragraph C. And finally, the last question, an architectural feature previously associated with prominent organizations. Prominent organizations means banks and government officers. We saw it somewhere. Yeah, in paragraph E. Right? Okay. So the time is up now. Let me stop sharing and now could you all get to this? Hello?
Yes, sir.
How to answer the passages?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any questions?
Like the duration, sir. How can we cover that full in given duration, sir?
Yeah, in 20 minutes you have to cover. In 20 minutes, can't you cover? So
Okay,
that's why I said first read the questions, understand it, and then read the passage. Because you will be having both the question paper and the passage with you only. So once you understand the questions and its instructions, so it is easy. Here it was difficult for you because it was there on the screen. So for examination or for the mock test, when I send it or give it to you on tomorrow, it will be side by side. Question and the passages would be side by side, so that you can read the passage as well as the questions and get the answers. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, fine. Anything else? Okay then. Fine. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time or before that. Can we meet at 4 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow Sunday from 4 to 6, we will have the test 4 to 6:30, right? Because we are having two tests, that is reading as well as writing. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, fine. Great. So tomorrow it will be reading and writing, and Monday it will be listening and speaking. So tomorrow it will be from 4 to 6:30, 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. I will send the instructions on the Google Classroom accordingly. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine. Great. Thank you so much.
Yuvraj, the
Thank you, sir.
attendance link is shared in the chat box, so please find it out and also mark your attendance.
Mark, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, sir, so we are good to go.
Oh, yeah, we are good to